everybody for being here. If you will rise for the invocation. Heavenly Father, we are so grateful. You've been so very good to us, better than we deserve. And we are just grateful for what you are doing in our city. We're grateful for the opportunities you give us. We pray that we honor you with all that we say and do. We ask this in Jesus' name, and everybody says, Amen. Amen. Please remain standing for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May be seated. Okay, do we have any changes to tonight's agenda?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, you've all received the minutes from our June 28th meeting. If there are no changes or comments on those minutes, I'll receive a motion to receive the minutes.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman McCoy. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second that motion.
Councilman Holland seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, it's unanimous. Okay, we're going to jump around on this agenda a little bit tonight. We're going to go to new business number 1 to present for approval the public comment policy. We're going to do that prior to our public comment, which seems to make the most sense. So I'll turn it over to our city manager to walk us through.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So as a result of the legislative session this year, the legislature did adopt a public comment policy, and we are required to have a public comment on our agenda. But part of that law is we are permitted to set the time, manner, and place of that public policy. So in working with the city clerk, we did do some research and looked at what Sussex County has and some of our other peer communities, sister communities, and the original proposal that you see there, the original public comment policy that was presented, we basically drafted from that. And just a couple highlights of it. There are some procedures that are required, and each speaker will be asked to provide their name and address on a sign-up sheet, which is here at the head of the room. Prior to the opening of the meeting, we'll make it a practice to have someone here, one of our secretaries here, so that the room will be open. You can sign up for public comment. Each speaker will come forward to the podium after being recognized and will be asked to identify themselves on the record, providing their name and address. Each speaker will be given generally 3 minutes to present their public comments. The mayor or the presiding officer of the meeting will have the authority to provide an additional 2 minutes. The presiding officer will remind members of the public to speak clearly into the podium or microphone. It is broadcast, so we make sure everybody knows that. The presiding officer or the mayor may choose to respond to questions or issues raised by the speaker. However, those comments are not necessarily the opinion of the council. And in the draft policy, we also give some guidance to the public so they understand how our meetings run, and that the 3 minutes is all they're allowed, because we want to have about a half hour because the council has business, so that's how we frame that. In our review, we did send this out to council, and during our liaison meetings, we did have some feedback from council. So we did put together an amended policy, and that's in council's package. And it makes 2 minor amendments. We did strike approval of the agenda because our practice here is we don't do that from section 3A. So the amended policy removes that. And then we did add in section 2H, we added the following statement based on the advice of some of our directors and the chief. It shall be unlawful for any person in the audience at a public meeting to do any of the following: engage in disorderly, disruptive, disturbing, delaying, or boisterous conduct, such as but not limited to hand clapping, stomping of feet, whistling, making noise, use of profane language or obscene gestures, yelling, or similar demonstrations which conduct substantially interrupts, delays, or disturbs the peace and good order of the proceedings of the public meeting. So that's the draft policy that staff has put together for council's consideration this evening, and we can try to answer any questions council might have.
Okay, are there any questions from council?
I have one.
Councilman King?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Charles, and some of these questions are going to be redundant, but for the people that are watching and didn't have the opportunity to read the literature that was presented to us, so when someone in the community, or maybe really not even in the community, right? So it's not there's no demographic like area, right? So someone can show up from California if they choose for the public session.
That is correct, sir.
Okay. And so they come in, they sign in at the back of the room, and that's all they need to do. So there's no like beforehand notice or, hey, I'd like to be a part of this meeting, or could it be on any topic? Does it have to pertain to the agenda, or could someone come and say, hey, I want to talk about this?
Yeah, it can be on any topic. We do recommend people come in and speak to the sphere the council has authority over, something on the agenda, something within the city. Obviously, we would like to help people that come here. So if it's an electrical question or a public works question, the liaisons can help with that. If it's a police question, our police commissioner or our chief of police can help with that. So we'd like to be able to help to guide them towards that. And we can only do that if we have a sphere of influence over that.
Okay, great, thank you, appreciate it.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions from council? Councilman Santos.
Yes. Let's say someone was to come in, they have there's an ordinance on the table, and they're looking for a variance. Would this be a good place for them to come and ask about the mayor and council about a question about it, or
No. So any variance that's given for a zoning item has to go through the Board of Adjustment. Typically, when the council gets ordinances, they're adopting ordinances. So I would recommend people come here and make comments based on the language in that ordinance that the council would adopt. If you want a variance, that follows a different process. Council does have the right to waive or make concessions on certain matters of city code, but while we're adopting the code, that's probably not the time to ask for a variance to that, I would suggest. It has to be in place before you can ask for a variance.
Thank you.
Other questions from council? Okay, if there are no other questions, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to amend and adopt the public comment policy by striking out the phrase adoption of agenda under section 3A, guidance for the public, and inserting the following phrase under section 2H. Procedures. It shall be unlawful for any person in the audience at a public meeting to do any of the following. 1, engage in disorderly, disruptive, disturbing, delaying, or boisterous conduct, such as, but not limited to, hand clapping, stomping of feet, whistling, making noise, use of profane language or obscene gestures, yelling or similar demonstrations, which conduct substantially interrupts, delays, or disturbs the peace and good order of the proceedings of the meeting.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Henderson. Is there a second?
Councilman King, I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a second. Are there any comments on the motion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote on this one. Councilman Henderson?
Aye.
Councilman Santos?
Aye.
Councilman King?
Aye.
Councilman McCoy?
Aye.
And Councilman Holland?
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you very much. All right, so now we'll go back up to the beginning. And Jessica, is there anybody here for public comment tonight?
We don't have anyone signed up for public.
Okay, just to be sure, there's no one here in the public that would like to get up and say anything. Okay, do we have any correspondence?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, then we're going to move on to new business number 2, and I will call up Mrs. Tricia Newcomer to walk us through the property proposed lease.
Good evening, Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
I am excited to be here tonight to talk to you about a lease agreement at 106 Spring Street. As you all are aware, this is the block building that the city owns across the street at the corner of Spring and High Street and the Grass area. As we've had conversations many times about how this space that the city owns could really be used as an incubator space. We could have somebody start a business in here, and with some of the development that's planned for along the river, they could start here, and as that comes along, grow and hopefully grow into something larger. Well, we have an opportunity, and I'm excited to bring that to you. So the gentlemen we have in the room with us, Mr. John Talkington and Robert Walker Jr., are the owners of Brimminghorn Meadery in Milton, and they want to join our community. So this evening, you have in front of you or in your board pack, you've got a lease agreement. We've had this go back and forth from our office to their office numerous times. Council has seen this. I sent it out to you in an email. And what this is a lease to rent the 3,000 square foot building as well as that grass area for them to operate a facility similar to what they have in their Milton location as a meadery, but this would be their main production facility for both properties. They would have the tasting area just as they do over there. People can come in, really talk to them, learn how mead's created. It's different than brewing beer. John is phenomenal, from what I understand, a phenomenal brewer, and I've actually had a chance to sample some of the products, so I'm excited to have that here in our community. But as I mentioned, we really wanted this to be sort of that incubator space. There's a lot of infrastructure that needs to go into this. The city is working now with our city engineer to kind of retrofit that building. We anticipate that bid documents should be done within the next month, that we get that out to bid. We could have this shell ready for them sometime in the fall. So this agreement, if approved, wouldn't actually go into effect today. It would be later in the fall, once that certificate of occupancy is achieved for that building, that it's such that they can go ahead and move into their equipment. I think they kind of want to right time it with some of the equipment that they have in Milton to be able to keep their product flowing. No pun intended. So we're excited about the opportunity that this brings. The rent structure is tailored because it is an incubator space. We kind of want to give them that first couple months. There's a heavy lift as far as capital costs that needs to go into this. And then, so this is a 3-year lease agreement. And hopefully we'll see them grow from there into something larger.
Questions from council?
I have a comment.
Sure.
I just want to just really appreciate the energy and effort that you and the entire team put into this. It's very exciting where the downtown is now versus where it was 3 or 4 years ago. And so, I mean, just with the energy and passion and what everyone does day in and day out, I just want to, we appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate that.
Well, the years that this elected body has pursued this dream of inviting someone like Birmingham downtown to the vision and investment that this council's made in a building downtown to make this all possible, to creating this incubator space, it's something really all of you should be very proud of.
You guys are
and-
part of that
Yep.
team that is
Right,
making this
absolutely.
happen, so absolutely.
And if I could.
Yes, please.
Essentially echo that sentiment that, this goes back years ago to having a local family come to us and say, hey, would you be willing to buy this property? So from my standpoint, I'm very thankful for that family providing us that opportunity to begin with.
Right.
And then having the vision to see what this possibly could be. And then the previous bodies and this current body for what you guys saw and the potential and this opportunity. We're very excited about it. The one question I do have, and I know we're going to get it as soon as this hits the news. Is there any idea of when it would be open?
It'll be in the fall, so we won't have the building ready until probably October, November for them to really then be able to transition. So we're saying sometime in the fall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just one other, if I could.
Yeah.
We utilize that property now for quite a few activities.
Yep.
Is it going to cease? Are we going to move those activities, or is it still going to?
So we've actually had several conversations with them. They kind of really want to immerse themselves in the community and be a good partner with that. In fact, as you know, we have the Friday Night Live events that are there. They actually want to come early and set up at Friday Night Live and have some sample tastings, sort of get their feet wet in the community before they're even here.
Thank you. It's awesome. And welcome.
Yeah. Any other questions from council? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve the lease for the city-owned building and property located at 106 Spring Street and permit the city manager to execute the document upon issuance of the certificate of occupancy as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman McCoy. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I second that motion.
Councilman Holland, second. Are there any questions on the motion? We should have fun doing a roll call vote on this one. Councilman McCoy.
Aye.
Councilman Holland.
Aye.
Councilman Henderson.
Aye.
Councilman Santos.
Aye.
Councilman Kane.
Aye.
Unanimous. Welcome, JR and John. We're so happy to have you and your families here.
Thank you. Awesome.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tricia, for everything you did on this. You worked hard. Thank you so much. Well done. All right, next we have the option for redesigning the intersection.
Okay, so in the ensuing time, since this agenda has been published, we've made some headways with DelDOT, and we are working towards scheduling a meeting. So tonight, we're asking council to consider tabling this until we can obtain some additional information and give a better, more fuller picture about the proposal for the intersection at a future meeting.
Okay, if there are no questions or comments about this, I'll accept the motion to table.
All right, Mr. Mayor, Councilman King, I'll make the motion to table until additional information from the DOT can be attained.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman King. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Councilman Santos, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, okay, it's unanimous. All right, next we have the Economic Development Committee's recommendation, and again, Mrs. Newcomer is earning her pay tonight.
Getting my steps in tonight, right?
There you go.
So this evening, we have a recommendation from the Economic Development Committee who heard a request from Mr. Palmer Gillis with regard to 200 Health Services Drive, which is Sussex County Tax Map and Parcel 331-5.00-13.02 to review and consider an impact fee review and reduction. So just to kind of acclimate you of the property that we're discussing, this is 200 Health Services Drive. It's out by, across from the post office off of Bridgeville Highway. This is building 200. His investment's about $2.5 million. This building is already built. They're actually working on the fit out now. And when completed, it should be a 20 to 30 employee facility. I believe this may be a Tidal Health facility, I think he alluded to. So the committee actually met on this originally on the 9th of June and heard Mr. Palmer's concerns with regard to the fees that he would be assessed for this property, and his biggest concern was how the city calculates an EDU, an equivalent dwelling unit. So one EDU is equal to 300 gallons per day. His argument, if you will, is that his facilities with the new energy efficiencies don't necessarily use those gallons per day. And he did bring in 2 or 3 different case studies. He alluded to some different practices that different communities did. And so at that time, the committee asked that I go back and do some further research, table it, and bring back the information. So I did. We met again on June 28th. And what we found, I did a cursory search with Georgetown, Milford, and Millsboro. 2 of those communities do what they call a look back. They would take his case studies. It says, yes, in this similar building, you're only going to use this many gallons per day. We'll give you a credit. And then in a year's time, we'll do a look back and see, did you really use that? And if there was a difference, they would then bill. The Milford is slightly different in that they're part of Kent and Sussex County, and that's sort of a contract with them, so it's slightly different. But what I did notice in doing this is I compared our rates as well, and Seaford's rates are significantly lower as well. So talking back and forth, the committee had quite a lengthy discussion on this, and one of the biggest things I think that kind of hit home and why we charge the 300 gallons per day is to keep it an even playing field. You know, everybody that is building in Seaford, regardless of what you're building, is the same value. The city manager and I had a conversation today. You know, if I had a house and I had only 2 people living in there, it's only going to have a certain amount of usage, and then I sell that house to somebody that has 10 people living there, it's going to be different, but it's still that same house. So a long discussion was had, and the committee really felt that while they understood his concerns, they understood what he was saying, they also really felt that his savings were really being seen through our rates being as low as they are compared to the other communities. So they made the decision not to recommend any change at this time. I don't know if any of you that sit on the committee want to add any information to that.
That's pretty much straightforward.
I'd be happy to add, if it would give it any more clarity. From my perspective, the impact fee is equally weighted among all people who develop in a certain business class. And savings comes in through conservation, through what you put through the meter. And Mr. Gillis is a developer, and he has to foot the bill for the fees, yet the lessor of the building would pay the water fee because he or she is actually conserving the resource. So I understand that he wanted to take advantage or try to take advantage of our low rates plus get a credit, but that puts other developers at a disadvantage. And from an economic development standpoint, I think that through Operations Committee, it should be investigated what the impact fees really mean by, is an EDU actually 300 gallons? And I understand that the EDU has been set at that rate for almost 30 years.
Yes, sir, since the inception of the ordinance.
And the fees have not increased in that time?
They've increased in the 30 years, but they haven't been amended in probably 10 or more.
Okay, so it's kind of like, what we're doing is kind of like comparing the Sussex County assessment the way it is. Sussex County currently, I mean, there's a law that's been changed, but currently work off a 1974 assessment. And everybody's properties are judged on that assessment. So we have a very old assessment on our impact fees. So if operations were to make a change in the impact fees, then say the EDU was reduced to 150 gallons a day, half. That would therefore mean that we would have to increase the impact fee because the construction of the public works has gone up dramatically, doubled or tripled in the 30 years and even doubled in the 10 years that it would take to do that. So I think that it was not really in the Economic Development Committee's wheelhouse, and that it should be more comprehensively studied, a scientific study, an engineering study, to figure out what the true rate should be, so that every developer and every person that's impacted or that is impacting the system gets an equitable rate.
Are there any questions from council?
I have one.
Councilman King.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And maybe if Councilman Henderson can allude and maybe expand on that. When I think of impact fees, I think of like the riverfront apartments, right? So he comes and asks for a reduction of impact from water and sewer hookup. Can you elaborate a little bit more? Is this, I understand what you're talking about, consumption in gallons, but can we talk about the dollar amount that he's asking for, or is that the only thing he's asking for?
No, I don't have the numbers in front of me.
He did not, he wasn't asking for a specific dollar amount. That was the one thing we asked him specifically.
Okay.
He wasn't asking for a specific dollar amount. He was just asking for a change in the way that it was calculated,
Okay,
because
right.
he's charged so many EDUs for that building, and because one EDU is 300 gallons per day, and his argument was that building's not going to use that many.
Sure.
That's where he wanted that to be changed so that the number would be less.
Okay.
That makes sense.
It does make sense, yeah, because here it says, deny any change in the fees
Yep.
associated.
Correct.
Okay, I just want to make sure I understood.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions from council? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to accept the recommendation from the Economic Development Committee regarding a request from Mr. Palmer Gillis, 200 Health Services Drive, Sussex County Tax Map, parcel number 331-5.00-13.02, to deny any change in the fees assessed as presented.
Okay, we have a motion from Councilman Santos. Is there a second?
Mr. Mayor, I'll second that motion.
Councilman Holmes seconds. Okay, are there any questions on the motion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Santos,
Aye.
Councilman Henderson.
Aye.
Councilman Holland.
Aye.
Councilman McCoy.
Aye.
Councilman King.
Aye.
Okay, it's unanimous.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much,
Thank
Mrs.
you.
Newcomer. All right, next I'll call the chief up to go over his JAG grant. Just a little heads up, I'm getting text messages, people are excited, so for you to come up and present this grant opportunity.
Free money, right? I don't think there's any such thing. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Manager,
Good evening,
council
Chief.
members. Thank you for having me. I'll keep it short. The 2022 JAG grant is out, and we are eligible for $15,029. And we propose to utilize that fund, or that money, to purchase 2 Motorola portable radios and 1 Motorola in-car radio. And we're partnering with the city of Milford, and we're handling the grant this time, should you choose to approve the funds.
All right, are there any questions in regards to this JAG grant request? If not, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the recommendation of the Chief of Police Marshall Kraft to submit a 2022 local Delaware JAG grant request. The Seaford Police Department portion is $15,029 to upgrade existing equipment, 2 Motorola portable radios and 1 Motorola in-car radio as presented.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, any questions on the motion? All right, we'll do a roll call vote. Councilman Henderson.
Aye.
Councilman Santos.
Aye.
Councilman King.
Aye.
Councilman McCoy.
Aye.
Councilman Holland.
Aye.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate all you do.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, do we have any old business?
No, sir, we do not.
Okay, reminder of meetings?
We only have one this time. Governor Carney's press event in Seaford with the HELP Initiative will be at 10:30 a.m. on July 26th at the Love in the Name of Christ Center at 703 East King Street.
All right, thank you very much. You'll need to wear your security shirt and squirrely to that event. Okay. Next on committee reports, we'll start off with Administration IT. Councilman Santos.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The following meetings were attended by city staff, the Title Health Community Health Announcement at the Seaford Metal Bridge. They have this community health initiative where it was funded by the federal government, where a van will go out and give health screenings to different areas in the community. They met with the executive director of the Boys and Girls Club regarding new programs and side concerns. There's a community garden where they're going to put a farm to table. They're going to be installing a water meter on the Boys and Girls Club for that. And they also had some talks about consolidating the soccer programs, the one that they have, the Boys and Girls Club, and the ones that we help with. They attended the Sussex Highway sewer installation. They're making decent progress. For the IT report, they completed testing and setting up the finalized version of the virtual desktops. They've been working on they're still working on the fireworks. Actually, I think they completed the fireworks rework and integration for the hospital. Let's see. For the administration report, they've been working with the audit and auditors for the on-site preliminary field work. They've been reviewing applications for various job openings. And they've been processing shut-offs for delinquent accounts, and all other businesses is routine.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, Police Fire, Councilman Henderson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a report from Chief Wilson. In statistics there, the in-city response was 242. This is for the year. For some reason, I don't have the current numbers, but for the year is 242 and 1,192 EMS calls for 1,434 for the year. Out of the city was 180 and 757 in EMS for a total of 939 calls out of the city. There were 55 assists in the fire department and 76 total for the year, for a total for the year of 132. Of note, in the chart, you'll see miles traveled. So if you look down at the bottom number, you can see how fuel costs can mount up for the fire department. In the month of June, there were fire department equipment traveled 621.6 miles. EMS traveled 2,303 miles for a total of 17,784 miles for the year so far. So when you translate that to nearly $6 a gallon for diesel, and it's gone down a little bit, but during this period it was about $5 for gasoline. You can see how costs mount up, and so we really do appreciate the way that they steward their resources. Under significant events, on June 30th, there was a structure fire at 517 Pennsylvania Avenue that was caused by construction and drilling into the structure, and caused an electrical fire that was confined to the wall in the electrical box. Under apparatus status, Utility 87-8 is out of service for electrical upgrades. All apparatus have been equipped with the P25 800 megahertz radios, and they're in service. I'll move on there. And under emergency medical services, pardon me, 3 full-time employees have been hired and started last week for orientation. We want to welcome Jason Bach, Hannah Wheatley, and Mike Vall. They'll be deployed to their shifts this week. There's one open full-time position as firefighter EMT, as a firefighter EMT has resigned. The EMS fund drive is in full swing. As a reminder, being a subscriber, you will not personally receive a bill if EMS services are needed. The billing company will only bill your insurance. So I'm sure last meeting I showed you guys the envelope that everybody is receiving in the district, and I highly encourage you to make a subscription for this event. For I think $75 covers anyone in your household, so it could be a very good investment if you ever need the ambulance service. Under news and events, Seaford Volunteer Fire Department and the EMS were on standby for Seaford Nanticoke River Fest, and it was a long day of being ready, but I'm not aware of any calls or any service calls that you had as a result of that event. So we appreciate the fire department being available for that event. So with this particular event, we just want to highlight some costs that were involved. There was the financial impact for being available at Riverfest was for EMTs and EMS services was $6,283.91, and the money saved by volunteer staffing was $3,685.16. So you can see there's a huge financial impact just to be ready for an event like this, and we certainly do appreciate their readiness and their willingness to serve in this event, in which it just goes to show you that making a donation to the fire department or supporting the subscription program is very important for this sustainment of services. So, move on to Seaford Police Department. This activity is from June 27th through July 10th. You'll see the total complaints for the year is 4,799, and you'll see a distribution of the total number of crimes, burglaries, robbery, sex offenses, and drug crimes, all through the bottom. You'll also see year-to-date comparisons in those other columns. You okay there?
Yes, sir.
Under all crimes, there were 191, with the felonies, misdemeanors, violations, and civil and other, with an 81% clearance rate. Under drug complaints, there were 28 recorded drug crimes, 22 adult arrests, and 6 prosecution decline. There were 3 search warrants issued, and unfortunately, they responded to 1 overdose on South Market Street. 260 traffic contacts with 72 citations and 10 warnings, 3 DUIs, 2 crash-related. There was 1 injury crash that's reportable, no fatals, and no pedestrian or motorcycle or bicycle accidents during this period. You'll see a number of significant events, but in the interest of time, I will go down to the bottom where I want to draw your attention to some things that are happening with Riverwalk and the pedestrian safety ordinance. So during this reporting period, 2 people have been banned from Riverwalk for ordinance violation after being contacted multiple times for sleeping on benches late at night, with 1 resulting in an arrest for trespassing and drug possession with a no-contact order at Riverwalk through the Justice of Peace Court. And also during this reporting period, a female subject has been contacted and offered services through the Seaford Police Department diversion program on numerous occasions after being in violation of the city pedestrian safety ordinance. As a result, the violation was documented on a lease report, and any future violations will result in the issuance of a citation for violation of the ordinance. You'll see the administration's activities and events that they attended, and also I want to draw your attention to Staff Sergeant Horn. She recently completed an 11-week CALIA training course. She's going to be the manager. Am I saying that correctly, Chief? She's going to be the manager for our completion of CALIA, which will get us, move us towards national accreditation. So that's a big step, and I want to congratulate Staff Sergeant Horn for that. Duck and cover.
That kind of ends your
How is this?
report with a bang.
Yeah, that concludes my report.
That's your cue.
Hurricane.
Hurricane. Not here.
Can't get it now.
Okay, next we'll go to Code, Parks and Rec, Councilman Holland.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We saw Parks and Recs. They had completed construction at Riverwalk Pier, and there's photos included in my report if you'd like to look at them. And they held the first week of youth tennis clinic with 37 participants. And they reached out to men's softball teams for interest in the upcoming fall league. And they were advertising for youth fall sports programs, flag football and soccer. And of course, they held the Riverfest festival this weekend, and rain or shine, and people still attended, and we appreciate that. Give a big thanks to all the people who helped and attended. And we'll switch over to Code. Rent inspection is steadily being scheduled with 276 completed. Mayfair 1 is in phase 3 with water and sewer installation underway. And the road base is completed and dumpster enclosure installed at East Park Business Center. And the 7-Eleven convenience store is anticipating to open in the first week of August. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. The Riverwalk looks Really nice. Looks fabulous. All right, next we'll go to Councilman McCoy with electric.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll hit a few highlights on the report. Since the last report, the crew have hosed up the primary wire at 7-Eleven for sign installation. They pulled in the secondary wire in Martin Farms Phase 1 and checked the service for Virginia Avenue lift station after the storm. Regarding our director, he had his director's meeting, council liaison meeting, and a staff meeting, and he did speak with several residents at Martin Farms. Over the next few weeks, Nick Smart will take his last week of lineman training. They will continue working in Martin Farms and continue working in Bel Air multifamily. Before I conclude my report, it's somebody who lives in Martin Farms. I get to see the guys come through very frequently, too frequently, in fact. I'm eating my breakfast in the backyard, and I see the guys coming through. But they're working really hard out there. I'm very excited to see what's going to happen, the next step. But just a quick shout out to the electric department. They're working their butts off out there in hot sun, and they're facing a lot of obstacles in what they're doing. It's a lot harder than I thought it was going to be, just watching them do it. So shout out to them. And I haven't seen Katie Hickey tonight. Shout out to Katie Hickey for the Riverfest this past weekend. Great time. Everybody involved. I know our kids had a blast. Chief took the kids on a fire truck and had a good time, so I really enjoyed that. Don't I know it? But no, we had a great time, and I really am appreciative of that. And that concludes my report.
All right, finally, Public Works wastewater treatment, Councilman King.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. The report has been submitted in its entirety. I'm just going to hit some of the highlights, starting with the Public Works Department. The Route 13 sewer main project, as well as the South Conwell Green Infrastructure Project. Work continues and all is going well. The team continues to work on leaf and limb pickup, and work has started on curb painting. The team continues to focus their attention on weed growth throughout the city and continues to work on patching potholes. Big thank you goes out to the entire team and everyone involved with the Nanticoke Riverfest Festival. The team spent a lot of time and energy setting up and tearing down. A ton of work goes into making this annual event possible. Jumping over to wastewater treatment facility, the plant performance remains good. Team did experience some switchgear issues and did some repairs to tank piping, and the installation of some new flow meters took place. The facility did experience some high flows due to some recent rainstorms. Here's a few of the projects that will be happening over the next few weeks. Conducting interviews, continuing to paint curbs, keep the plant up and running with 0 violations, perform maintenance as needed, and once again, just a big thank you for the entire team and staff for all the work that they do day in and day out, being short-staffed. So, and as well as the city for all the efforts going into Riverfest. And with that, it concludes my report.
All right, thank you very much. And again, I know that it was a little disappointing with the weather, but I think it was a wise decision to shut it down, not only to the city employees, but to all the volunteers that put in a year's worth of work to get ready for one day. It was disappointing, but they all showed up. Everybody that came had a good time, and appreciate everything that everybody did. And then lastly, I do want to thank all of you for being unified around trying to grow business in Seaford. Tonight was an example of years and years of commitment to that, and all the employees that worked on it as well. So well done. So with that, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Got a motion from Councilman McCoy. Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
Councilman King, second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, case unanimous. Thank you. Good night.